Hello, I'm doing the live this evening right here on Facebook. This is kind of a little bit of a surprise, last minute change. Apparently, YouTube, the new YouTube channel that I started, hasn't been up for 24 hours, and I was unaware of that. So it needs to be up for 24 hours before I can do a live on there. So no biggie, we're going to do it from here. People aren't expecting me on this evening, so that's okay. Maybe it will be a little bit shorter this evening, but we will continue again. I did Thursday night live on Facebook, and I also did one this afternoon at 3:30 p.m. So I'm going to do the same again next week on Facebook, and again next Saturday will be at 8:30 p.m. live on YouTube. So the account and channel should be all set up by then, and that'll be no problem. In the meantime, I would just like to mention, as I noted before, and you will see the post on my page. Hi, Anne. I'm so glad you could join me. As you'll notice on the page, I have the missing persons readings that I've been trying to focus on and have been focusing on for the last few months. I have some noted some posts. Some of them are long and some of them are short on this page. The Seer Visions and Articulations, also known as Predictions page. And what I'm going to do is spontaneously, as those reads occur and as I devote time to them, I'm going to put them up as a kind of a taped made presentation, and also put them up on YouTube rather than write them all out. There's, I think more people like to watch the videos, so I'm going to do it that way. So those will be spontaneous at any time during the week or evening or morning. I'll be putting those up. And so if you happen to subscribe to the YouTube video, you will see that. So, and I'm just going to turn down. I've got some nice Buddha drums playing in the background, which is very lovely. And I'm going to take a moment to center, and I hope that you do the same with me. And we're going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to talk a little bit about collective unconscious, a little bit what it really means. There's different meanings and different avenues of thinking, contemplating, and seeing as far as that's concerned. So there's different aspects portrayed by that. Okay. So what I'd like to know is that culture is a shaping for thinking. Wherever it is in the world, there is still thinking in order to speak. In many spiritual philosophies, there is the element of psychology, whether it's hidden, symbolic, or pronounced, which makes it more theory. Okay? Real spirituality occurs by experience. Okay? So to treat an individual from that perspective is not spirit, it's mind. Christianity, and I have explored other paths in my years, Christianity is the only approach that doesn't approach the concept of spirit as a mental landscape or as a mindset, because it is much more than that. You've all heard that our inner essence, or that we are composed of spirit. Some people, again, will call this mind or a concept. It's not. We are light inside, and that is the meaning of spirit. We have a spirit form that exists within us. Okay? So when we're tapping into a collective conscious, we're connecting those spirits. We're connecting those little lights. We're letting our light shine. Okay? And we're connecting it. So if it's a good flow, then everything's wonderful and beautiful. But collective unconscious can also happen in an alternate way. Okay? So the principle the principles are concrete And it's really paying attention to light principles. Principles of light only come from heaven. The existence of real light, spiritual light, comes from heaven. It's filtered down through the universe, through the cosmos first, and through the physical planes. Okay? And this is God's place, nature and light. So when I say God's domain, I mean heaven, okay? But I also mean, again, the levels, the higher aspects above the spirit world, above the normal entries into those pathways. So consciousness means mainly a state of mind, an awareness that we're focused here and around us, or on the spiritual, on a higher communion with that light. So what I'm saying is, as we think and we go through our lives, what we are inspired, those intuitive moments we have, those ahas, that all comes from a higher source of light. It's a given to us, okay? We cannot have that, those moments of enlightenment without acknowledging that and recognizing that that's where it's come from. So what I'm proposing is that we are in a constant ebb and flow as we think with spirit, with our own spirit, and with that collective conscious or not. Okay, so the collective conscious is not the goal of meditating, that's communing. Okay, so the importance is the spiritual matter, not the physical. Matter changes, the substance of our very spirit changes. When people are ill, and it's in our aura, the light that we exude from us, a reader can read it, but you can feel it yourself. If you were to see it, it would change tones, it would change almost textures if we were to look at it that way. Okay, so the idea is we always want to be channeling or in contact with a higher light. The way you do that is through meditation or prayer. We need that to sustain ourselves. It's to eat, to pursue learning, and to what life is about. So it's how to feed ourselves spiritually. Everything here on earth is a search for heaven for everyone, even atheists and agnostics who look for proof of an existence will come to that realization eventually, because when they cross over, their mind is not going to shut off. So it's kind of the fact that they have to deny that their very existence for an atheist or an agnostic, they have to eat and they have to breathe. So it's kind of an oxymoron to ignore the primary aspects of that, okay, which are still heavenly, because that's what helps us to exist here. A higher shape of mind comes from trust for them, and if it's not, they can learn that on the other side if they get there. Okay, so there's no conversion in this. There's just simple speech and simple explanation here. I have some things on my Facebook page that explain it in a more theoretical way, where a professor tries to get that across, what the higher aspects of mind are, and how to intellectually reason to bear the existence of a higher being or a higher order or God. Okay, so I think most people in an intelligent manner can recognize that. They don't like the idea of not getting there or not knowing him in a personal way. So again, through meditation is the manner in which we can do that. I will stress again, for those who are interested in meditation, there are mantras. You can create your own mantra, okay? And this is where aspects of creative visualization come in, or self-affirmations and things, which are a watered-down version. Mantra is going to be whole in sound, and it's going to have meaning for you that resonates. There are typical mantras. You can look them up if your path is to start on meditation. Om Namah Padmiyam, Om Namah Tara. Those are two. There are other ones. However, or just simply Om, right? It's supposed to be the sound of the first syllable of existence. Is how that's perceived by many, and that's why it's chosen as a mantra. However, prayer has also been around, and it's part of our culture. It has deep meaning and resonates on a wide level. Every time you pray, if you think about it, there are thousands and thousands of people across the world praying at the same time, saying those very words of prayer. Okay, so I cannot encourage you more, if you want to meditate, to choose a prayer and just repeat it over and over and over for a half an hour, 20 minutes, however long it is taking for you. It's not only a way of honoring your existence here, but your mind in union with a higher light. I promise you, it will do that for you, more so than any other kind of study or tradition. Because when we're talking about spirituality and we're talking about experiencing it, we are talking about living and breathing it. And we only do that by adopting a spiritual practice. So incorporating that into our daily lives is very important. Feed our mind with books, feed our mind with conversation, talk to people, but also do it. Meditation is key to whatever your spiritual path is. Meditation will not make you psychic, but if you have those skills, it will broaden them. It will make the senses more keen, more adept. It is to acquire peace. And today we live in a very stressful world. And it will give you that. Surely if you can spend even 10 minutes a day, or 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, longer periods are better. And it is appropriate to lie down as you meditate, to lay as you meditate. And if you fall asleep, it's all good. But it will help. It helps the body to relax, and you can also keep your mind in an alert state at the same time. But that's a personal choice, okay? If anybody has any questions at all, please put them out there, and I am ready to do some reading. Thank you, Heather. I'm glad that you like that and that you accept that as an understanding. That's great. That's wonderful. The defining light, and you will notice it. Well, in a feeling way, if you've ever had a Reiki treatment done, or if you know a practitioner that does healing, or even if in the most common sense, if you're ever around somebody that's in a happy mood and they just kind of exude happy and they put you in a happy mood, okay, that is a finer essence of light and being more of a light being, right? Because that's what they're giving off. And the same as, you've heard of people who are downers and they bring people down, right? Because they're having a bad day, they don't mean to. But that is also part of the collective conscious. That is tapping into that field. And how do we do that? We connect through the auras, through our spirit body, through the light that we exude, connecting with that. So there's more amazing examples of it. There's a real study, and I don't mean to reduce this to like the animal kingdom or to make a flimsy example, but it is true, where they had the researchers or biologists noticing there was two islands close together. This isn't a made up story, and they had primates on one island who were learning how to open shells of food. I'm not sure if it was coconut or whatever, but they were learning how to do that. A new breed of animals. So they went down to the beach and they used rocks, right? And then they noticed that the same thing was occurring. This is a good example to illustrate it also. But on a neighboring island, they were doing the same thing. without anybody teaching them, showing them, or coaching them, or learning by example. So there's two things going on. There's the biological factor, okay? How much is ingrained into our soul? And some would say there's the thinking factor. How does that transpire? Or how do people think of the same idea at the same time? How do people write lyrics of a song that are very similar, and they're at different time periods and different places in the world? Happens all the time, right? So they're still tapping into a higher mind to access that or to do that. So the similarities are probably infrequent, but they happen. They do happen on a creative plane. If you're an artist, you'll notice it in while you're doing artwork, that you're also tapping into that. Where do we get inspiration from? So again, what I'm proposing is when we get inspiration to do artwork or to write or to help another person, that's coming from a higher source. That's not just coming from our mind. To say that it's coming from our mind would be selfish, would be ego driven, because it's not. We're tapping into something else when we do that. The way we reach into those moments is through that quiet act of contemplation and through meditation. And it is very, very important. Now, to some people, this might be something that they've already learned or experienced or heard of firsthand. So I'm just kind of here to reinforce that for you. So go ahead and try it. Try your meditations and get back to me. Let me know how it goes for you. Let me know if it should help your cognitive processes also. So your everyday thinking should be enhanced by the practice of meditation. And again, I'm not trying to push religion on anybody, but just trust me that words of prayer are a great mantra, and they're a good way to start. They're a good starting point for anybody. So that is my spiritual lesson for this evening, and I think it's kind of nice to culminate it at the end of the week in an evening presentation. So I have lots more. This is just for some rough notes that I'd taken a week or so ago, and and I wanted to impart that, but I have lots more information and notes and narratives and things along those lines, pieces of writing along those lines. So if there's anybody, I am ready and able to do some readings tonight. If anybody would like some readings, and you are most welcome. If anybody would like to do some readings, I'm here for you. If you have any questions, or it can also be, it doesn't have to be psychic reading questions. It can be life coaching questions or just spiritual advice questions, okay? So if you do feel like doing that, we'll wait a few more minutes and we'll see how that goes. Now, some will say, well, that's your experience, Lisa. That's your experience because you have this mediumship going on and that kind of thing. But I assure you, it's not. It's not just me that has these philosophies or beliefs. It's shared by many. Many people come together. There's nothing nicer than a group effect. I'm not much of an extrovert, but I do remember very fondly my early healing days, learning about healing and Reiki. And I'll tell you an interesting story. This was in my book, and I don't want to go on too much about myself because this is for you as well. I was interested in all these things that I'm interested in now and that I'm sharing with you. And I was, I guess, in my early 30s, but I was a little bit lost. Or no, maybe I was a little bit older than that. Anyways, my husband was gone, and I started to, I was praying at night that for God, I was like, dear God, send me a friend, send me somebody who's interested in the things that I'm interested in. I didn't feel lonely, but I didn't feel like a connectedness with, I had a lot of good friends and a lot of happy people around me and things, but I just didn't feel the spiritual connectedness like that people were interested in those kind of things with me. Like, sure, they might want a tarot card reading, but that was it, right? So I said this prayer that night before I went to bed. I swear to God, the next day I got a knock on the door, and it's this gentleman saying, "I heard you do readings," and somebody told me that, and so I wanted to get a reading done. So I was like, sure. This is a friend, not a romantic interest at all. He approached the topic of healing in a way that was new to me. I'd always understood the concept of white light, what light meant, that kind of way, and had an intellectual understanding through my younger years in a religious context of what that meant. So that actually people could learn how to do this and how to channel light through our hands to heal people and help people, then this was really new and fascinating to me. So together we discovered therapeutic touch, which led to Reiki and practicing. And there's no fonder memory than getting together with a group of people and practicing Reiki, a bunch of Reiki practitioners, and taking turns and practicing on each other. And for any of you, if you get a chance to do that, just do it. Just do it. It's not a big, huge commitment. It's as much time as you want to put to it. The attunement is fairly simple and basic if you want to get that done. I can do that, or a practitioner could do it. I do believe you have to be in the presence of somebody to do the attunement. That's just my personal belief. Now, there are some people doing it online, which is great. Try it, and just even if you want to try it on yourself for self-healing and learn about the chakras. And this isn't a lesson today about that, but I'm just trying to encouraging you to take those first steps. And maybe you already have, but to take those first steps with meditation and learning about self-healing, and spread the love that way. And it will change your life. It will change your life for the better. It might not make miraculous changes right away, but it will over time. You will notice some big changes that are beneficial not just for you, but for everybody around you. And if we can each help to heal each other in little ways, then what a beautiful world it is. And we need more people doing that for each other, to help each other that way. We really do. It's a mean world out there. So we need a stronger embodiment of consciousness for people to help and to heal and to regard life that way, that is part of life. And that is an important part of life. So that's just something that I wanted to share with you guys. And let's see. Okay, I see you taking some classes at the same time, Beth, as for jobs. Okay. Wow, those are very two different careers. But they're both working with very tangible results, aren't they? So that's a good thing. I can see some commonalities in those, even though they seem to be very different. Okay, again, I always advise somebody not to leave one job until they have another one, unless they have another one lined up. Start taking classes now. Start taking classes now for whatever field that you want to go into. Classes should be, I'm very big in academic learning. It should be an ongoing pursuit. Now, of course, it depends on people's financial situation because education costs money, but you would be surprised at the free alternatives out there. There are a lot of free alternatives out there for schooling. So check those out, definitely. I can see you working in a field closely related to it soon, to what your goal is very soon, and that's going to help you work into that position that you're wanting, that your goal is. But definitely start taking some classes now, okay, as far as that's concerned. And I do see that working out well for you. One pays significantly better too, which is always helpful in life. We all need to get by and pay bills. And I'd be curious how that turns out for you. Let me know. Okay? Is there anyone else that has any kind of questions as far as spiritual topics or readings or advice? I hope I didn't zone you all out. Yeah, maybe that's a good thing. We could try that sometime if people are interested, just putting it out there for you, because I'm still new at this, but I'm just putting it out there if people wanted to actually try to do a group meditation online. That would be interesting to do. I'm sure you've all heard the story about people getting together and praying, and in all the big cities, not sure if it was just in Canada or North America, like the US included, and they said crime rates went down. They all got together in prayer and from all over, and they said for that time period from that hour, whatever, that crime rates actually went down. So, which was kind of interesting, I thought. Now that's kind of an old thing. I think that story was happening now a long time ago, but. Anyone has any questions or experiences that they would like to share, just note quickly on for their own meditative experience. If there is anything that you would like to try, again, I'm speaking right from the heart when I talk about this. It's a beautiful standpoint to take in the midst of chaos when the world is fluctuating around you and changes are going on and people are drifting in and out of life, and that will happen as you get older. So I'm in my 50s now, so these are things, when I started this pursuit, I'm not one of these people who was like, had all these psychic experiences growing up and was like a child psychic or anything like that. That's not my experience. I had some good intuition and some psychic stuff going on, and had really powerful lucid dreams is how it would come through to me. But when I embarked on this, it was through meditating, and again, I spent hours. I would spend hours a day. I would say like 10 rosaries would take a day. It takes almost 10 hours to do. And I did it because I love the feeling of it. And then, of course, it opened doorways eventually. Now, I'm not saying that's a goal for everybody, just using my life as an example. But even for those few minutes a day, by all means, let's spend the time doing that. And I know everybody's lives are busy, but you can do it. You can do it. I pulled energy. No, I don't think I pulled energy. I don't focus on pulling or pushing if I do readings, or if I'm speaking right now. Again, I'm just speaking from the heart. I don't know you guys individually, and I'm not in your presence to kind of pull on energy. I have strong feelings towards that. A lot of times, a heavy push is spirit. okay, is a different spirit. It's a spirit in between, and that's what mediums, that's why they call them mediums, because they move between those two worlds. But I never seek to, when I do a reading, send energy or pull energy from a person, ever. I think that it can have some adverse effects, and I've been on the receiving end of that, and I don't like it. So that's why I don't do that with people. Lost your feet at the point you said opposite careers. No, they're not opposite careers. I said that they're different. They're very different careers, but they both work with tangible results, which is the kind of the same thing. One is more, okay, one is in the field of like florals, right? So you're still working with tangible results. You're still making arrangements with form. When you're doing construction, you're making arrangements with form, just in a different matter. So the thinking process, even with construction, is still creative. There's a creative back and forth going on, and there's a tangible outcome. So you can see the changes of what your efforts are making and what your effect is on the final result, okay, in both of those fields. So I wouldn't say that they're opposite, but they're different. They're working with different textures and different materials. So it's like working with crafts, maybe with glue and paper, and then going to oil paints. You know, they're both, they're both results oriented. They're both very different ways of achieving a goal. So that's kind of what I meant, if that clarifies for you, if that clarifies that. And the nice thing about these with the lives is that you can always play it back. If there's anything that you missed or might have missed, you can always play it back afterwards and get your reading again, or get the exact wording, or maybe even get a different meaning on it. Okay, so something else to keep in mind. And also, I should mention the book. I was interviewed to be in this book, 101 Living Gurus. Satsang is what it's called. The title of it. It is available. Sony Mervyn of India compiled this book where he went around. He's really quite a master in his own right, and he's and I do that like spiritually. He's a very sound and centered fellow, and he actually went around and interviewed over 100 gurus from India and North America, and he gave I met him kind of by accident, and we had this enthralling conversation, or at least I thought it was at the time. And he gave interview questions, and they were serious, in-depth spiritual questions, almost like koans. And the idea was to elaborate on our philosophy, spiritual philosophy, and see if it fit and how it fit with the rest of them. So he gave a series of questions, and you could choose several of them. I just almost finished writing God Caller, that phase of it. So I had the questions right there. So I answered all of them. And so that book, it went into second print the first year that it was released. So I thought it was kind of a nice way to culminate all the writing efforts of a few. Really, if it's over 100, that's still a few when you compare it to the billions on the planet, right? But these people make movements that matter, and his work really should be acknowledged for the efforts that he's taken to compile and write this. And there's, as far as I know, there's no other book out there like that. So this, if you are interested in getting this, what he's done is he's marketing it now differently. It's through an online website where you can get the download for I think it's $1 is what he put it on there. So that way it can reach everybody. And it's quite an amazing collection, not just because I'm in it. I mean, the other people's work in it as well. So if you are interested, please inbox or click like to this post or just comment, note in the comment. Okay, and I will check with him and I will make sure that there's a way for you to get a copy of that. Okay, Beth, that's awesome. Okay, so you're listening on your phone. Yeah, their phones are weird and wonderful, aren't they? They do strange things right at the most inopportune time sometimes. So that's okay. You can play this back. It'll be on Facebook. It'll be on the page. So don't worry about it. And again, I apologize about the YouTube thing. For those that have joined in now, what happened is I didn't know that YouTube. I'm not a technologically savvy, and I didn't know that the channel had to be up for 24 hours before you could do a live on it. So I got on there and already, and I was looking around and I'm thinking, where's the buttons? Where's it? I just saw it, and then I got the little notification that said that. So felt a little bit foolish, but that's okay. Hi, Ashley. So if anybody else, again, has any spiritual questions or any psychic questions or anything, just note them down there on the comments. And I'm just going to think if I can spread out the ideas in the collective unconscious. I've tried to explain it from the physical perspective, from the material perspective, so people thinking on their own, people thinking together, people in meditation and in prayer, and what that connects to. So I've kind of explained it that way. In a spiritual way, when you're talking about the spirit world, when they refer to spirits being whole in heaven, whole, that means they're light, they're perfect form, their emanation is perfectly form, and it's pure and it's light. Okay, that's heaven. The spirit world, it can be variations of that. It can be varying degrees. It can come across as gray. It can come across in color. And color usually means something more recent. Okay, so a recent contact or a recent passing. Now this might change slightly depending on the person who's viewing it or the person who's seeing it. But again, at your whole, so that you're thinking independently, the higher up you go. Because at the middle levels, you're going to need more help to actually retain your space or your spot in heaven, okay? So when you get to the lower orders, if you think of astral projecting and you talk to people who have astral projected, and they'll tell you about the cord, and sometimes some people don't, but the astral projection thing, you're going into an astral plane where it's like dreams are shared, right? So dreams are shared. So that is a collective conscious also. But it's not necessarily a healthy one. It's not necessarily a good one. It'll say that spirits can recognize a living person who's dreaming because of the way they enter the astral plane, okay? Because they don't know what they're doing, basically, because we're alive and we don't know, right? So we're sleeping. So it's a different mode of thinking. And this is real stuff. These are real spiritual precepts that I'm talking about, and attributes for some. So again, if you go lower than that, if you get to areas like purgatory, there is no separation of thought. It's all a blend. It's all angst. It's all feeling. It's not the same as being a whole spirit. So the goal of our life here is on the other side. We want to be a whole spirit. So the first step in that is acknowledging God, okay, and taking those first steps. And understanding is a good thing. Now, it doesn't have to be a complex understanding. It can be simple as faith. You just have faith and trust, and then it's all good. when you step over. But if you slip, and I mean, it's just like people in life, we slip, we fall, we we do something wrong, we get back up, we brush ourselves off and move forward. So it's kind of the same thing, but if you have no faith, you're going to be relegated to lower realms, and that's where you will rest, and it's really hard to get out. So you want to, the more we condition our mind and our spirit here while we're alive through prayer, the stronger we are on the other side. Okay, so even those times of meditation, even if you don't want to meditate on prayer, if you just want some quiet time to think on nothing, to think on absolutely nothing but a peaceful existence, is very important. To give us a stronger mind and a clearer thinking on the other side. So, and so let's see. Hello, Melinda. Thank you, Beth. That's so nice to hear. That's very nice. Thank you. Ashley, the baby is coming soon. Again, I'm getting the same answer as I did last time, but I'm not sure if it's this cycle. See, you would know because you know your own body, and you've had babies before, so you've been pregnant before, so you will know, you know your own body. I do see you conceiving soon. I just don't know if it's this cycle. So if you're late already, hold on to that thought, okay? And if I get anything that's a little bit more concise, I will get back to you, okay? Okay. And a little bit of a pause, I think, is all right. I don't like to have empty space when I'm doing this. I'd rather keep speaking, but sometimes a pause is good. It's very cold where I am right now. We've got freezing rain started outside, pelting at the windows. So the upside of this is some of this is a little maybe too deep or a little bit abstract or seems like that. So the upside of this is we can all think, right? And we can all think well. And that's what it's all about. Okay? So on that note, I'm going to say goodnight. It has been almost 45 minutes. And I hope you liked today's spiritual lesson, because I certainly enjoyed sharing it with you. And I'm looking forward to the next one. By all means, if there's something that you would like me to discuss or a topic, just inbox or note it on my page or however you choose to do that, or send me a quick email, whichever you prefer. Okay, and then for those, if you ever do want a reading, even if it's after the live, just put it in the comments. Just add to the comments. I believe you can add to the comments after it's already published. So that's great. And I really look forward to seeing you guys again next week. And I hope you have a fabulous weekend. And don't forget to take a few times for a little mental break, okay? And to think happy thoughts, okay? Good night, all.